Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Now it works. Thank God.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear my voice properly?
Yeah, I can hear your voice properly.
Okay, because the last time, like, I had a big problem with the microphone and then people couldn't hear it. So just making sure that you can do it.
Don't worry, I can hear you very well.
Okay.
All right. All right. Wow, what's happening now? Okay. So, uh, I'll start. I will. What's the word? Start up the
Hmm.
debate. All right. Cool. Yeah. So the topic is Otto Warmbier deserved a punishment from North Korea. It's been a huge, what is it, issue that people has been talking about. So So I thought this would be a good topic to discuss for us as well. Just to provide a brief background, he was arrested in January 2016, and after 17 months, even though although North Korea claims that like what is it, he eventually got knocked out because he was sick and we fed him sleeping pill, but we obviously know that that's not the true case. However, it is unfortunate about his death, but I am here to claim he actually deserved a punishment. But I would like to clarify the definition of punishment is not, I'm not saying that he deserved to get the punishment from North Korea, the punishment that's like severe, that violates the human rights. I'm not here to discard it. I'm here to argue, saying that in terms of legal case, in terms of law and order, he did deserve that. I would like to start off with my first argument, which is saying when you're visiting a country, you're expected to follow the rules of the host country. Like, it's a common sense that when you travel, you need to be aware of the rules and dangers of some actions that you may commit. Because you're a visitor. As a visitor, you're expected to abide the rules because you are a foreigner of the country where the cultures and laws, like even like some punishments for of certain crimes, will be different from where you're from. And your right as a citizen of your country, say that you're an American or like Korean or Chinese, whatever, um, what is it? The countries that you belong does not apply um, outside of your native country. So once you step out of your own native country, you're expected to follow the rules of the different country. So like many foreigners in different countries often get in trouble for not obeying local laws, and that is something that people might think, oh, that's something I can get away with. But like in technical terms, once you commit a crime, you're not automatically handed over your country's embassy. You are expected to follow the punishments of that host country. Like, for example, I'm going to list two countries that, as an example, with some, what is it, some severe punishments that are given toward foreigners. For instance, for China, foreigners are executed if you're caught with having drugs. And for Singapore, the foreigners can get jailed and caned if you're caught if you're caught graffitiing like on walls or in the streets. That's how, what is it? That's how the rules are still applied, even though you're not from that country. Now we all know that North Korea or DPRK is a country that you can't mess with because it's because of the social media, because of the education that the people have acquired. We know DPRK is not a country to mess with because of what they do to people every day. However, Otto Warmbier, he was warned of not to mess with from his family. From his family, and we could assume that the tour groups has to also explain the rules and the restrictions to the tourists, including Otto Warmbier. But look what he did. So even though he was warned, to follow rules, and as a tourist, and especially the fact that he's an American, he should have been more careful. But he didn't really think of the consequences of the small action that we consider universally, like something minor or something major, because depending on what you steal, can be different. Now, this is something I will talk about in my second argument after you make your first case. But just to be sure, it is expected as a tourist, you're supposed to follow the rules of that country, but he didn't. So now I'd like to hand it over to you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Um,
all right.
all right.
So
So
Otto Warmbier
Warmbier
deserved the
deserved the
punishment.
punishment.
I'm actually
Actually,
against this motion right
right
here.
here.
I can
I can
actually give
actually.
it one sound.
Oh, now?
Can you, yeah, I mean, like it's just playing as an echo.
Huh. That's weird. Here, I can just let's see if this will work. I'll just plug in my earphones and we'll see if that is it better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, I should have done this earlier. But feel free to ask. What is it? Some
Okay.
clarifications or yeah.
All right. So moving on to my case, I have two approaches to it. Firstly, what I personally believe is that there's no actual evidence that the person, that Otto Warmbier, actually committed a crime, like just other than the confession itself. There's nothing else that actually proves that the video that was actually released that showed which North Korea actually claims that Otto Warmbier, the video that's actually was showing that Otto Warmbier was actually putting out the poster that's not even clear, and then the face is not even clear, and then that is just like one video that North Korea presents as the evidence of Otto doing that, and then there's another thing that comes out, which is the confession which we have seen from Otto, which I will actually talk about, and which has a lot of flaws in it. And then second is that even if we believe that Otto Warmbier actually did the action, we can actually debate his crime, because was it a good idea to steal something in such a strange land as he was accused of doing? Certainly not. But just like it's not a good idea, but we should be clear about one thing, that Otto Warmbier did not actually deserve to die. And in this case, if you see the punishment, no matter you explain the punishment in a different way, like the punishment he has actually got is death, if you see it. So in no way actually Otto Warmbier actually did not deserve to die, and did not actually deserve this punishment, which is very severe, and which is just for a simple deal, that is just stealing out the post, and which is, again, I'm assuming that if he did it, which there's still it is still left to be proven that he actually did it. So talking about how you stated that, you're expected to follow the rules, and like when you're in a foreign land, you have to abide by it. So we definitely know the history of North Korea, like about how we runs, how it functions. There are so many, like it is actually considered as one of the very bad regimes, and then like the way it actually acts to people, the punishment are actually given to so many things. I mean, if in case you have to have a public holiday to drink, you cannot listen to songs, you cannot watch television, like there are so many small things like this that are actually given punishment for. So you see the um it's just a different thing, it's just a whole different thing in terms of NK. And when you say that you expected to follow rules, you expected to know about it, Otto Warmbier was such a person, was very enthusiastic and very curious in his college days as well. And not just that, he had actually visited North Korea already 2 times, so it's near to impossible that he didn't actually know about the rules that are already existing in North Korea, and then the laws he had actually to be like abided by. So this actually puts a question that even though knowing it, why did they actually do it? And that's a big question when you say like you expected to know. Now, given that he had actually visited North Korea already 2 times, you can actually believe that he knows. And also the fact that he was a very good student on his college, like very curious, very enthusiastic, and maybe that's why like he actually traveled so many places to learn about those things. So you see, he actually kept a good knowledge of everything that happened in the countries he actually visited to. And talking about the confession he presented, there are so many problems within the confession, if you see. And North Korea is actually famous for putting so much of pressure onto the people to actually commit something they haven't even done. And you can actually see in the confession video itself how the soldiers are actually dragging Otto Warmbier in a very brutal way. If in case you see watch the video as well, so that you can see the hostile behavior the NK department was actually already giving, Otto. And one big problem was that after Otto was detained from the airport for maybe more than a month, he was not actually, his status was not actually informed to the world or maybe to anyone. So that's very illegal. Like, I would not say in a term illegal, but then that's very unfair, and that's not something like a country system can actually do. Detaining someone, then not letting know the world what is happening. It's just like keeping in secret, like it's just near to kidnapping, like his family was not informed about him, what happened, where did he go, is he alive or dead. So this condition was actually done by the NK, just kidnapping him, like, in a way. So this is very unfair, and I'll actually talk about the problems with the confession later, but I just want you to move on first.
All right, thank you. Thank you for telling me about your arguments. So the rebuttal. So I would like to rebut again of the rebuttals that you made. I don't know if that's just for the sake of discussion. The fact when you told me that he already visited North Korea 2 times, like, he knew what's up. He's curious, very enthusiastic. He has a good knowledge. Although it's kind of hard to assume for me, like, why he committed, but because he already visited North Korea twice, as you said that. But for that 2 times, he didn't get caught. Like, he just traveled safely, and maybe he was like, okay, like, this is his mindset. So, okay, I didn't get caught twice. So if I'm visiting 3rd time, I should be fine. That assumption, there's a chance that he made an assumption because what he has done in the past did not harm him. So this time he was making a really risky, he was taking a huge risk. But although just because he has done this in the past doesn't guarantee that he's going to be safe again. And say that he did committed a crime or whatever and needs help. The problem with North Korea is that there's no U.S. embassy. But according to the travel website from the U.S. government, if as an American, if you're traveling to North Korea, you're supposed to report to U.S. embassy so that to notify that the Swedish embassy can later help on. But we don't know if he has done this yet. So the point I'm trying to make is that, say he commits something, but obviously there is going to be less help with the fact that there's no U.S. embassy, and because of his curiosity, it harmed him more. It harmed him more because, like I said, he assumed that it was going to be okay, and he thought he could just get away with it if something happened, just because he visited twice, which I believe, because of his psychology that he was going through, it's something that he was like, oh, I can get away with it. And that is something that's not okay, even though you're traveling somewhere, more than multiple times. Even though you visit that country once, when you go next time, you're still expected to follow that rule. And now I'm going to rebut to some of your arguments about your personal belief that there's no actual evidence. But however, he got caught by the video, which obviously tells the entire facts, because people's primary sense is a vision. What they see is what they believe. And what I'm saying is, one, the North Koreans probably knew what was located in that area, and two, because Otto Warmbier is so distinct compared to North Koreans, because one, he's Caucasian, two, very tall compared to other North Koreans. So that was because of what it was called, and it was so easy to distinguish. North Korea was able to probably capture that. And yes, you know, he probably made so many confessions. He made confessions with so many flaws because obviously North Korea is a very oppressive and is a country where they do not consider people's human rights. But, you know, like I said, if Otto Warmbier did not disobey the rules and did not commit a crime, which I will explain much more soon, he wouldn't have gone through this whole thing. You know, he wouldn't have gone through the trial. He wouldn't have been detained. He wouldn't have been, you know, be sentenced to have 15 years of labor. And this is all because, you know, this. Now I'm gonna talk about my second argument, which is, you know, what he committed is technically considered a crime, like universally. But I will also point out why, what is it, like how the punishments of the crimes are weighed differently according to where people are. Like, you know, because he did stole a banner, but it was much more severe because it was a propaganda from an international hotel. But, you know, technically he did commit a theft because this is a violation. It is a violation because stealing is an act of taking a property that does not belong to you, but without a permission. And, you know, there's no intention of him giving back to North Korea because obviously he wanted to take that as a souvenir and tell people, his people around, like, hey, this is what I got. But, you know, technically he took away the property that did not belong to him, nor it was like sold to him. So although, and the punishments of stealing may vary depending on the country, but universally we know that we know that North Korea, you know, they're just on their world. But, like, you know, obviously, you know, in the majority of countries, it's considered to be a minor theft because he stole a banner. You know, in our case, like, if he did that, he would just have paid fine or something like that. But, you know, like, because compared to like manslaughter or murder, really stealing a banner is nothing. But in North Korea's perspective, this is why North Korea, we need to think about in North Korean perspective, not just in our perspective, but in North Korea's perspective, this crime is considered to be severe, that the punishment is going to be very harsh, like no matter what. But like I said, in our perspective, I do agree that the sentence was disproportionate. But in their perspective, this crime, it is the theft, which involved a banner that was a propaganda, is considered as a threat. And, you know, because it was an American who did it, they were like, oh my God, we need to do something about it. But yeah, what is it? Before going more in depth about that, you know, I looked up the common punishments for stealing because it is a crime against property. You know, if it's a minor, like what Otto Warmbier did, it's, you know, just paying fines. But if it's something major, like something like a grand theft or severe, that it involves fines, restitutions, and even jail. But in North Korea's perspective, stealing a propaganda banner was considered a major theft. That's why, in our perspective, we agree that the 15 years of labor, that's too harsh. But because he was in a country where their ideologies and their culture, I don't want to admit it's a culture, but their mindsets are so different from us. That's why in North Korea, they're able to just impose punishments, whatever they want, and ignoring the fact that it's okay to violate the human rights. And that's the argument I want to make, why what he committed is a crime universally, but how the standards of the punishments are different compared to our world to North Korea.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for your argument. All right. So when you tell me that, because he visited twice and then he felt that he was never caught before, so he could not be caught again. The mindset was not that of Otto Warmbier because he never actually thought of a crime before, and then he was just like a normal tourist. Like, as he came for the first time, he was just out of curiosity and then to enjoy the land, to know about it. So there was nothing he was not there with a crime mindset, I would say. And talking about the confession, I'll just move into flaws of the confession. When you say like he stole the banner, in the video itself, he didn't steal the banner. If you see the video, what the video shows is that, firstly, the video is not clear at all. You can actually find it on the internet. The video is not clear at all. It's just a blurry video where you can actually just deduct it could be anyone else. And and second thing is that the person actually pulls out the poster from the wall and then actually puts it down. And then in the explanation which Otto Warmbier gave while he confessed the crime, what he says is that, hey, like it was too heavy and then I could not actually take it off and then I just abandoned it. So he didn't actually technically even steal it. And the second thing is that, now imagine that when in the confession, like he actually tells that he had actually planned this crime like times ago, and there were so many people associated with it, the Friendship United Methodist Church, the G Society and all. So he actually tells that this was a plan. So just imagine that he comes here and then he finally is about to accomplish his crime. Like, finally he pulls out the poster and then he just tries to he just decides to live it. I mean, how is that even logical? Like, he came to North Korea to pursue a crime, and then now after he was like finally successful, he just abandoned it. That's just a foolish statement, I would say. So like the crime, actually the confession which he makes is just very silly, and it could actually be seen as North Korea forcing something upon him. And especially, why is that? Because they just, I mean, they have created they have created a criteria, and they just want the descriptions Otto Warmbier gives to fit into that criteria, and then just make a strong case, like show themselves as powerful. And then you can see how Otto Warmbier begs in front of people, and then like whenever you see him speaking, you'll not actually believe that the person is actually fearing of such a big regime or something. So by which I mean is that it is actually it's a kind of a performance there, like a theatrical performance. He has been actually forced to do that, and not just this, like there was a previous detainee, Kenneth Bate, who actually told the same, that the North Koreans actually tell you that if you don't follow our rules, something worse will happen to you. So with the same thing, Otto Warmbier actually presented the confession in a fear that if in case he didn't follow it, what they wanted him to say, something worse could happen to him. And then presumably to just trying to avoid an even harsher sentence than what he received. That's why he actually did it. And then you can see like he sounds so powerful in it. Powerful isn't like so like not fearful, confident, or maybe like it just shows that it just feels like he's not even unhappy about it. So this was all a plan, a theatrical performance that was actually induced by North Korean government. Now let's see what he says in the video. As I said, is a plan, and then it was a planned crime and everything, which I is explained to you. Well, he didn't even take the poster out, then why he actually didn't do it if in case it was a crime. And the second thing is that he actually tells that how his friend's mother, Cyril, and the Friendship Methodist Methodist United Church is actually behind it. Now let's see, like if in case there's a crime like that is actually planned or attack planned by ISIS. Like if you see like there's ISIS on the news, like people are into it, people are running for it, like to find ISIS and then like punish them or attack them instead. But like when he actually so openly talks about the G Society, about the Friendship Methodist United Church, you can actually go into the internet and find out there's nothing, actually no one is talking about them. No one is talking about them. There's no news about them. I just spent like 2 hours on the internet to actually go through it, but then all it's just not on the internet. If in case it was a crime planner, that's what he says in the confession, then why are they not even on the internet? Why are they not like asked for questions whether or not it actually happened? So it's just all confusing. And next thing is that there was a group, there was a like the hotel they lived in, the fifth floor was abandoned, and there was a group in 2011 who actually came there, and then they actually trespassed the fifth floor building, and then in fact took many pictures of it, and then actually posted it on internet. So if you go to monsoonguide.com, the group who actually went in 2011 did this, like did, in fact, what I believe is a more severe thing, because they actually went inside, and there was a forbidden floor, but still they went inside, they clicked pictures, and then there, in fact, in one picture there was a bomb, and then it was written USA on it, and then take revenge 1,000 times. That was what was written on the propaganda banner in one of the pictures of the floor itself. So like, if you see, I think this crime is more severe, because that was an abandoned building, and then you instead went inside, clicked pictures, flashed it on the internet, but nothing was done to it. Nothing was done to it. But why was Otto Warmbier punished for the same kind of action? In fact, less severe, I would say. He didn't even actually steal the banner. Um, so it just all, just all confusing. And the next thing is that Otto Warmbier, if in case, let's believe, is he confessed this was a crime, and then he actually had planned for it. So the person who was actually staying with Otto Warmbier for maybe 24 hours a day with his troop, in his trip, his roommate, he actually could have actually noticed at least a single thing about it. I mean, he could 5 days together, like at least something, or maybe like he could have actually mentioned something about propaganda banner, or maybe at least some hint that could have actually come out. But there's nothing. The roommate actually tells that there's no signs of it. And then Otto Warmbier was always a sincere person. Like, isn't, as I said, like, only if in case his crime could be justified or given an evidence to, I would actually believe it. But I've also presented a case that even if it does it, it's actually unfair to give a punishment like of death. In fact, I would not even shy away from telling that actually North Korea murdered him, because like he was tortured out, like in so much way that his fingernails were actually pulled out with tools, and then not not just not just by tools, but also by repeated drugging. Sodium pentothal. That's what the Fox Business Network's Maria Bartiromo actually released in a statement. And so the retired U.S. Army like general actually said that North Korea was just trying to figure out whether or not Warmbier was a CIA spy, and repeated exposure to drugs during that year in captivity, which is the reason behind what caused the brain damage. So I'm not even shy away from telling that North Korea actually murdered him instead, like using those drugs continuously just to figure out that whether or not he's a spy, and then later that exposure to drugs continuously in like that tenure actually caused him the brain damage. And then NK made all the story to fit the narrative that he could be a CIA, and that's what is presented in the video itself, the confession video itself. And yeah, and when the confinement actually, like when they realized that his health was actually deteriorating now, so they just felt like, something is going tragically wrong, so we better get this guy out of here, like, and then they just left him out there. And then they actually told the world that botulism, that is kind of a food poisoning, was the reason behind Otto Wambier's death, while the doctors of Cincinnati, Ohio, actually did not find any kind of such like reasons to believe that it was botulism that actually caused the death of Otto Warmbier. And they actually claimed that it was a severe brain damage, which is actually caused by the drugs presented by the NK itself. And I think Otto Warmbier was the only person who could actually explain all of the situation of what happened, and then what North Korea did to him was just left him speechless. And then that's how they let him return home. He was the only person who could actually explain this whole condition, explain this whole situation of what actually happened, and then they just took his voice. Either way, I would say.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Oh, now I feel something up. That's weird, but I'm sure it'll be. Yeah, it got better. Thank God.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, I do agree. Like, what is it? The things that what Otto Warmbier has actually gone through. It is unfortunate. Like I said in the beginning. Like I said, I said that the North Korea's unethical punishment. It's something that I don't agree on. But he could have gone. I feel like Otto Warmbier could have gone away with this if he just didn't approach to the propaganda poster itself. Because one, it's very suspicious in a country where what is it? Where the punishments are so severe, where everyone, like even the North Koreans are tortured every day. And, in North Korea, we all know, like, it's a fact that North Korea has no mercy, like, whatsoever. Even though you're foreigner or North Korean, like, North Korea has no mercy. And because of what Otto Warmbier, like, did, even though you may claim that it's not necessarily stealing, but, like, based on their footage, North Korea was trying to find an excuse to hold Otto Warmbier. And I'm saying that Otto Warmbier deserved this, because if he didn't do something that was suspicious, like, in other people's perspective, it could be suspicious. Like, although this is a very subjective view, but we know that he's not under Americans' rules. He's under North Korean rules, where he can't really mess up with. And what is it? Because sure, some people can say that he technically didn't steal it. What is it? He didn't, like, the video is not clear. And what is it? It was did you say it was a planned crime or something?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
really?
that's what is confessed. Yes, in the confession video, that's what it said. Like, this was all a plan.
Okay. Well, he probably said, one, he may mean it, but we doubt that. Two, it is something that obviously, I'll forget about that. He probably didn't plan it for sure. Like, but two, it is something that we can suspect that that's what North Korea told him to do so. But I feel like he could have gone away this situation, one, if he didn't, decide to show up in front of a banner and do something, like, suspicious. And, I guess not just because, like, one, I said it is North Korea, don't mess with it. But in other countries, if a foreigner does something suspicious as well, the first thing was that they will try to investigate. But obviously, the way that North Korea approached it is very unethical. And what is it? It's wrong in many levels. But like I said, he shouldn't have done something suspicious. And I also do remember that you talked about, like, there in 2011 there was a time when what is it? Was it a group of people, like, entered the hotel, the fifth floor, and, like, took pictures. That is very risky as well. But in North Korea, like, I don't know how they were able to get away with it. But in North Korea, once you get caught, you can't escape no matter what. Now, I'm saying that those people may be lucky. It's just, even though there's something always dangerous, and, like, in people's psychology, what is it? When some people are told not to do it, people tend to do it more. But I'm not saying that Otto did it, but, like, what is it? Just because one, you shouldn't do it, but you want to do it. Like, there were some people who got away with it, but you can't, you can be like, so therefore it should be okay, even though I'm not stealing, because that's an invalid argument to make for yourself. And that's something that, what is it? If Otto didn't want to get involved, like, he shouldn't have caused suspicion. He shouldn't let North Korea distort the evidence, because we know that like I said, we know that North Koreans have no mercy. I mean, the North Korea country itself has no mercy. They don't care about the people's opinions. And, Otto Warmbier should have known that. But although he visited North Korea twice, and he's like, oh, I think it should be okay. But look what he did. Look what he got. Unfortunately, it is unfortunate for what he's gone through. But, if you didn't cause a suspicion, just, stay in this room. Just, don't be in a, there are situations that you shouldn't be proactive. And I believe he sort of made a bad judgment call on that, which is very unfortunate, like I said. And, now just to briefly talk about the last argument that I actually prepared, is that how North Korea, as a sovereign state, differs from the majority of nations for its notorious nature. North Korea is a country where violation of human rights occur every day. There's starvation, there's forced labor, forced abortion, and tortures that happens every day. And, those extreme measures of punishments what is it? It applies to all North Koreans and even foreigners. Now, there's one case back in August 2016 when one of the generals was executed for falling asleep or dozing off during a general meeting or the meeting. The reason I'm bringing this up is that North Korea will do anything to violate the people's rights, even though it's something severe. It's really nothing compared to compared to what we perceive, as something that violates other people or like, just breaking a law. And what I'm trying to say is, because North Korea takes minor offenses so severely, that they're just gonna do anything to, torture or just harm other people. And like I said, if Otto Warmbier hasn't done something suspicious, just stayed in, didn't even go up to the, go up to that banner and where the camera's gonna be there, he could have gone away with it. And we have to acknowledge the fact that North Korea is a sovereign nation, with a huge with a big monarchy, very extreme power that has their own set of laws based on their, like I said, I wouldn't say the word culture, but based on their mindsets. And like every country, like, United States, Korea, or Nepal, or Canada, United Kingdom, we all have our own set rules and our own and our ideologies. But the reason why it works out is that we have some overlapping ideologies that we perceive as normal. That's how we're able to criticize, what North Korea has done. But we also need to think about what North Korea would have perceived. I'm not supporting their ideologies. That is totally not my case. But what I'm saying is, we also need to take into consideration, because one, DPRK is a recognized nation, unfortunately, but two, we, like I said in a way earlier, when you're expected to follow the laws of the country, we also need to think about, in North Korea's perspective. And, his suspicious activity was perceived as a threat. And so that's why, unfortunately, Otto Warmbier has gone through this whole unfortunate incident. But like I said, in North Korea, this was perceived as a threat, and we all know that North Korea is a threat to the world. And North Korea was just trying to distort the evidence and like try to show like, oh, this is what we have, like, don't mess with us, blah blah. But I feel like if Otto Warmbier hasn't done any suspicious, there's no way that the North Korea would have like arrest him at the airport, because at that time there was no, if he didn't do that, there will be no evidence for North Korea to distort. But however, because of how Otto Warmbier got caught in the video, even though he may not have stole the banner, but in North Korea's eyes, that was very something suspicious. And like stealing a propaganda banner is, it is considered a serious offense in North Korea's culture. So, like I said, this is going to be more suspicious because of the fact that because of the fact that Otto Warmbier, he was a foreigner, and obviously North Korea is very North Korea does not favor Americans. Obviously, they would just try to pose a threat, and they because unfortunately, because of what Otto Warmbier displayed on the video, the North Korea decided to obviously distort it and such. So what I'm saying is, Otto Warmbier should have just he should have just made a judgment call that just stay where should stay in his room, do not make anything suspicious. So, because one, North Korea is a very different country, and so yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll just like go through the final points and everything because I just think I have like 4 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, sorry for talking too much.
no. Okay. I don't know where should I start from. All right. So talking about, as I said, as I started with how like oh, I was just planning to say one thing. I just it just moved out of my mind. Okay. So I'll just go through the beginning. As I said that it's firstly it's very unfair for the country to actually not release the status of a like of a of a person, in fact, like of a tourist who has actually come to visit the country, and then for 1.5 months they just keep him out of status. They just don't let the world know what he's doing, or maybe like if he's dead or alive. And it is very firstly that was the first unfair treatment that was done to him by the North Korean government. And secondly, in fact, the fact that he was actually given pushed to given a fake confession itself, or maybe a confession that was actually rehearsed, more like a performance of whatever and North Korea wanted the world to see. That was another bad thing they did to Otto Warmbier. And then that's because North Korea actually want to portray themselves as a very powerful nation, and then just let the world know that they could do anything to people. And then that's why they actually made Otto Warmbier do all those things. And then if you see, like, North American citizens in North Korea have sometimes been used as a tool to just put the pressure on the American government. And then when they actually realized that the drugs that they were using on Otto Warmbier was doing a bad, or was causing a different harm to them, and then they just realized that there was no use of Otto Warmbier anymore. And then maybe that's the reason why they actually secured the release of Otto Warmbier as well. And if you see, like, as I also questioned you about how the if in case it was a crime, if in case it was a crime, that's what the punishment that was given to Otto Warmbier was solely based on the fact that it was a crime, like, so which you actually didn't address, because the crime isn't like a planned crime. As I stated, the Friendship United Methodist Church was involved with it, the G Society was involved with it. So this is the main reason why, because of all this trade, Otto Warmbier was decided to give this punishment of actually the 15 year slavery and everything. But it was not just based on the fact that he just actually tried to steal it. It was based on the fact that he actually planned this crime, and then all of this was a big plan that actually had been executed. And if you see, as I stated, if in case that was the case, like ISIS, if in case it attacks something, it plans something, there's always a case going on with ISIS. But then in case of this case, like, there's no any evidence of these two institutions planning or anything. Like, they're not on the internet, they're not in news, and then it just all gone, and it just shows that North Korea actually just presented a plan to actually prove themselves strong, and then just blame other institutions of America, actually, to just so that they are less credible, or maybe they have like some institutions with wrong intentions actually working in America. So that was the next thing. And talking about, as I said, like, because it is solely based on the fact, the confession he actually gave to the media. Like, you see, he actually tells that he had been planning for this crime maybe like since 2-3 months and all. And then just as I stated, like, when you watch the video, what it shows is that he actually tries to pull it off, puts it down, and then he just abandons it. So someone who actually came from America to North Korea to actually execute a plan, like, which had been planned for maybe like 4 or 5 months, as he stated in the confession itself, why did he actually not take off the propaganda banner then? This is a very big question, because, as I said, like, even if it did it, okay, like, I'm assuming that, okay, he did it, but then why did it actually happen? So it's just that Otto Warmbier was actually, he just got into it. And then, as you said, like, it was just a larger geopolitical conflict that he actually got caught up in. There's always this rivalry going through between these two nations, and then he was just put as a victim of this one. And I also stated to you that how there were a group of people who actually did the crime of in fact, crime in North Korea, it's definitely a crime. So going into the floor and then actually taking pictures and getting it all on the internet, and the propaganda pictures were all so controversial. As I said, USA, and then there were bombs, thousand time revenges and all, but they were done nothing. Even after they came back to America, posted pictures on the internet, nothing. So I just say that the punishment is not justified at all for Otto Warmbier, and